Okay, it's 1:30, so we'll start on Falcon's Landing time, exactly on the 2nd. Thank you all for coming. Those of you who are regulars at the Apple Group, you've met Noah Hayes before, and Tandra. Where did Tandra? In the back. Also with Apple is here to help out and help Noah. Mm-hmm. And I have a special guest here today. Ensley, stand up. My daughter, Ensley, she came all the way from Raleigh just for this, and she has a brand new Apple Watch. Take off your coat.
Yes, I got an Apple Watch.
No,
I'm getting messages on it. I don't know anything about it. I don't know how to work it. It's beeping. My wrist is vibrating. I don't know why. I have lots of questions.
But she's talking for two, if you haven't noticed. She's a little heavy in the front. Put on a little weight since.
Congratulations.
So we will have our second grandchild by courtesy of Ensley pretty soon.
Great.
So thanks everybody for coming. Noah's going to run through the presentation at any time. They brought some sample Apple Watches, a couple of the new headsets, the AirPods. And they're up there on the Apple table, so you can look at that anytime you want. Over to you.
Sure. Thank you guys all for coming. It's going to be an exciting morning. Just by quick show of hands, I know I recognize a lot of faces in the audiences. How many of you currently own an Apple Watch? Wow, over half of you. How many of you own a Series 4 or Series 5 Apple Watch? Okay, so there are going to be some new things that we're going to talk about today. How many of you have never used an Apple Watch before and are here today to learn something brand new about Apple Watch because you're thinking about getting one? Okay, so we're about 50-50 split. Wanted to get a good idea for that. So we've got a video to kick it off. Today is going to focus really on Series 5, which is our latest generation Apple Watch. It's going to show you a lot of great new features that are going to talk about health, communicating with your family, and also being a little bit safer as you travel. But first, let's watch a quick video.
This watch tells time and takes phone calls. This watch tells time and turns on lights and opens up doors. This watch tells time and communicates with satellites 12,427 miles above the Earth. It wakes you up and gets you onto subways and plays every Elton John studio album
Hey Siri, play Tumbleweed Connection
ever recorded.
Play Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Play Madman Across the Water.
This watch tells time and sets timers and sets your pace and warns you when it's too loud and texts your friends and opens portals. Kidding. And tracks your distance underwater and starts competitions and accepts challenges and tracks your workouts and tells you which direction you should be going and reminds you to breathe, and has an app that measures the exact timing of the electrical waves traveling through the upper and lower chambers of your heart, otherwise known as an electrocardiogram. So in conclusion, just to reiterate, this watch tells time, among other things.
Pretty cool. Has anyone seen that video before? No? Okay, cool. So that was our ad when we launched the Series 5 last year. So today I want it to be a little bit more interactive. I don't want it just to be a download of talking to you guys for half an hour straight. For those of you who just watched that video for the first time, what was something cool that you saw Apple Watch do in that commercial that interests you personally? Anyone? What was that?
When you fall.
When you fall, yeah, so fall detection, that was a great feature that was mentioned. What else? Heart rate. Yeah, your heart rate? Yeah, so it can measure your heart rate. Anyone else?
To swim.
Can swim with it, yeah. So Apple Watch is water resistant. We don't call it waterproof because there is a certain depth you can go, but all the current generation Apple Watches that we sell can go down to 150 feet for up to an hour. So if you swim every single day for up to an hour, you're totally fine with Apple Watch. That's a great call out. Anyone else? Cool. So I know that was a quick 3-minute video and blasted through a lot of information. We're going to focus on some of those key features today. So first off, we're going to start off talking about, again, Apple Watch Series 5, which comes in a range of different configurations, different colors. You can customize it and make it really, really personal. Apple considers Apple Watch to be the most personal device that you own. And one thing that I use every day with my Apple Watch is communication. So with Apple Watch, you can stay in touch with your friends, your family. You can send text messages with Apple Watch. You can make phone calls with Apple Watch. You can use a great new feature called Walkie-Talkie with Apple Watch. So it helps you stay in touch with friends and family. For texting, you can use, and we'll go through live demos so you can see how this all works a little bit later. But if I wanted to text Tandra, which I'll do a little bit later, I can use my voice to text her. I can send her a voice message, or I can sketch out what I want to say with my finger. So if I don't want to send a message and have everyone around me hear me what I'm trying to say to someone, you can sketch that out with your finger. We'll show you how to do that in a bit. Secondly, we have activity. For those of you who currently own Apple Watch, does anyone know what these 3 rings are? See a couple head nods. What is the pink-red ring? What is that for? I heard activity? Yeah. So activity, that's right. So that's your activity ring, and that tells you how many calories you've burned throughout the day. And that's a goal that you can set. And your Apple Watch helps make a goal, helps you set a goal based on your age, your height, your weight, and what type of level of activity you normally have. If you like to go to the gym a lot, you might have a higher activity ring than someone who doesn't go to the gym a lot and just likes to go out on walks. What's that second ring, that greenish ring in the middle? Exercise, that's your exercise minutes. So if you've done 30 minutes of exercise in a day, you've closed your ring for the day. Right? So exercise doesn't necessarily need to be doing a strenuous workout. It could be going for a nice long walk. What about that middle ring, the blue ring? Standing. So how many hours are you expected to stand a day with your Apple Watch? What's the goal, the default goal? Does anyone know? I heard it out there somewhere. 12 hours a day, right? So we're not actually standing for 12 hours straight per day, but the expectation is stand for at least 1 minute each hour. So if I'm sitting down, and this is a long course about Apple Watch, but if you're sitting down this entire time and we never get you to stand up, your watch at, well, let's see, what time is it right now? 1:30. So you walked in here in the last couple minutes, but at 2:50, you'll probably get a tap on your wrist that says, hey, it's time to stand up, if you haven't stood within that 1 hour, right? So that's something you can turn off if that's something that annoys you, but every hour your watch will remind you to stand up, even if it's very briefly. Yes?
Could you elaborate on what's the difference between exercise and activity?
Yes, that's a great question. So the activity monitor, the activity ring, is tracking how many calories you burn throughout the day. So your calorie burn might be 300 calories, it might be 800 calories, but it's all set by you. You get to choose. The middle ring is a minimum of 30 minutes per day in terms of exercise minutes. So it's a measurement of minutes versus actual calories. So, great question.
I didn't get that ring.
So that ring will automatically show up in the activity app on your watch, and we'll do a full demo of exactly how to change your activity ring and your activity goals a little bit later during our demo section. So great, yeah.
Why is it that when you know that you're actually doing 45 minutes of exercise, and yet it registers only like 11 minutes?
So the exercise, that's a great question. So the exercise ring, it's going to determine based off of how strenuous your activity is. If you're having a leisurely pace on a walk, it might not see that as exercise minutes. You can turn on a workout tool, the workout application, and it'll automatically track whatever you do for however many minutes you do it. And we'll go through an exercise demo a little bit later. But if you don't turn on a workout, it won't necessarily track that depending on how strenuous the activity is. So if you're sprinting down the street, it's going to know, hey, your arm is swinging pretty quickly, your heart rate is starting to elevate. This is definitely a workout of some kind, some exercise. But
I do 45 minutes.
Okay, let me interrupt just a second. Several people have asked that either Noah repeat the question or wait for a mic, and we'll bring a mic to you so you can ask your question.
Sure.
Not everybody can hear what somebody in the back or the front. And this is also being recorded, so it'll be on TV, and it may be right now live on 1970, I'm not sure. But raise your hand, and Tanya or I will bring you a mic. So I'll keep an eye out.
perfect. And we're going to do a full set of Q&A at the end, but if you do have some specific questions about whatever topic we're talking about at that time, it's a great time to bring it up. So great. So the third thing that we're going to talk about today is health. So Apple Watch is really, really useful for tracking your health. One thing that I think someone called out during that video is measuring your heart rate. You can also do a ECG. Has anyone ever had an ECG done before? Quite a few of you, yeah. So you can do a single lead ECG directly from Apple Watch. So once again, today is really going to focus on Series 5. If you look on apple.com or go into any store right now, you'll also see the Apple Watch Series 3. A lot of the key features that we're going to talk about do not exist on the Series 3. The Series 3 came out 2 years ago. I think for the majority of this audience, the Series 5 is where you'd want to be. But if you do have questions about is the Series 3 or the Series 5 right for me, after we're done today, you can talk to Tandra or myself. We can talk about what features are the differences between there if we don't address that during today's meeting. So one of the big features of Series 5 that was introduced is an always-on display. This is a really, really cool feature if you have an older Apple Watch. So I've got my Series 5 on right now, and you can see, let me switch over to a brighter screen. Whoop, there we go. So I've got my bright watch on there right there, but watch what happens when I drop my wrist to the side. For anyone who can't see it, my screen, I can still read the time. My screen is always on. It doesn't go to sleep when I turn it away. So previously on past generations of Apple Watch, when you raise your wrist, you can see the time. But when you lower your wrist, the screen goes completely dark. So if you're sitting there typing on your computer and you want to just quickly glance at the time or see a text message, you have to do this kind of exaggerated arm raise to make your Apple Watch wake up. You don't have to do that now with Series 5. With Series 5, your watch is always on. Now, the way that we're able to do this is by using a new type of screen technology that really slows down how much the screen is refreshed when it's down at your side. So it gives us still amazing all-day battery life. Where we typically rate the Apple Watch at about 18 hours of battery life throughout the day. So you're not going to put it on and wear it for a week at a time, like you might with your traditional watch. You're going to generally take it off at night and charge it along with your smartphone, with your iPhone. One other key thing to mention is if you have a much older iPhone, you do need to have iPhone 6S or later to be able to use an Apple Watch, any of the current generation Apple Watches. So if you have a question about if your phone is compatible with the latest generation watches, please find Tandra or myself afterwards and we can take a look at your phone and let you know if you do need to upgrade your phone or not. So, cool. So like I said, this has a new type of screen technology. We're not going to go too deep into the details on that screen technology today. But if you do have questions about that, it's all available on apple.com, so you can read through that. So once again, we have all-day battery life. We have a variety of different watch faces that you can switch between, so you can kind of personalize it to however you like, and all of those work in that mode when you rotate your wrist away in dark mode as well. So cool. This also works inside applications. So if we're in the middle of doing a workout, whoop, I think we lost our screen there for a second. Okay, sorry about that. Huh. Did we lose the screen? Oh, there we go. Sorry, temporary issue. But as you rotate your wrist away, let me see if I can animate that again. Whoop. There we go. So when you're in an application, you'll see the screen gets a little bit darker. Yeah, I guess it just doesn't like that video for whatever reason. But then when you're doing a workout, you'll see minutes, seconds, and fractions of seconds. To extend that battery life, those fractions of seconds disappears when you're doing a workout. the screen will get a little bit darker, so you're not getting up to the millisecond updates, but every second that screen is updating, and that saves a lot of battery life. So that's a big, big feature on the Series 5 if you have an older Apple Watch. Does anyone have a Series 3 or first generation Apple Watch? Handful of you? Cool. So that's a really nice feature if you were considering an upgrade to Series 5. Some other big features with Series 5 that are new are navigation. So there's a built-in compass app now. This is not just useful if you want to figure out which direction is north, but this will also work in a lot of different complications. So complications, if you're not familiar with that term, is a watch term that's been used for years and years and years. So if you have a traditional watch that has lots of little dials on the screen that do things other than tell you today's time, those are all referred to as complications. So Apple Watch, you can customize what complications you see on the screen, and we'll show you how to do that in the demo a little bit later. In this particular case, we have the activity tracker right here in the middle, which shows you those 3 rings we went through a few minutes ago. And then down here at the bottom, we have a compass complication down at the bottom. So you can see and also up at the top we have our calendar. Now these are all direct links to applications. So if I tap on activity, it's going to take me to the activity app. If I tap on my calendar, it's going to take me to the calendar app, which is really cool. But you can customize those, and that's something that's new in Series 5 as well, having the compass complication. This is also really useful if you're walking around a city you're not familiar with. So imagine let's all hop on the metro and go down to DC. If we come out and we don't have our phone with us and we're walking in the wrong direction, if we didn't have that built-in compass, you might walk in the wrong direction for like 5 minutes before that update happens on your watch. It says, whoop, rerouting, you're heading in the wrong direction. But since we now have a built-in compass, it lets you know which direction you need to be headed in, which is really, really useful. In addition to now, with Series 5, we also have a elevation measurement. So this is very useful if you go on hiking. So very cool. So let's talk about safety. That was another element that we talked about earlier. So the first is emergency SOS. Has anyone seen this or accidentally turned this on their phone or watch before? A few of you? Cool. So this is something that's really cool. It's been available on all of our Apple Watches. But basically, if I'm on my Apple Watch, if I press and hold the side button, so there's 2 buttons on the side of my Apple Watch. One's the digital crown, one's the side button. And if I press and hold the side button for a few seconds, you can hear it's making that sound. What that's going to do if I didn't stop is it's going to notify emergency services. So let's say I was just in a car accident and I need help. I can press and hold that button and it'll notify emergency services and also anyone that I've saved as in my medical ID as my emergency contacts. So in my case, my wife would get a notification and says, hey, Noah's in trouble. This is his current location. So it's going to send GPS location, and then I alerted emergency services, and they'll get to me as soon as they can. So it's essentially like dialing 911 directly from your watch. One new feature that is on Series 5 is now you have international emergency SOS. So even if you're traveling internationally, you might not necessarily know the number for 911 in the UK or wherever you are, but it'll automatically dial emergency services when you're out and about. So if you travel internationally and you have an emergency, you can now do this directly from your watch just by simply pressing and holding the side button, even when your phone isn't around. This is a really cool feature. If you have a current generation iPhone, you can also press and hold the side button for a few seconds. I'll do that on my phone just for a quick second. Whoop, sorry. Press and hold the side button and the volume down button, and you'll see that it also does emergency services just like that, which is pretty nifty. And now it wants me to unlock my phone again. There we go, perfect. There we go. So another feature that's really nice that I highly recommend turning on if you don't have it already set up is Medical ID. Has anyone set up Medical ID on their iPhone before in the Health app? A handful of you. So if that's something you haven't seen before, we'll go through a quick demo of that a little bit later today. But Medical ID is something that you can set up, which has all of your emergency information in it. So for example, if I mentioned, if I was in a car accident and the emergency services show up, in Medical ID, I could list any sort of allergies that I have, medications that I'm taking, et cetera, and anybody that I need them to contact on my behalf. Right? So that's something.
No passcode is needed. They can just
Correct. That's a great call out. So there's no passcode needed. They don't need to know your passcode to view Medical ID. They can't do anything else on your phone, but they can at least view your medical ID even if they don't have your password on your phone, which is pretty cool. And we'll show you how to set that up a little bit later. So before I move on, any other questions about these features?
This is the side button. Which side is it?
The side button, so there's only 2 buttons on Apple Watch. And sorry, I don't have a big diagram here, but you'll see the round icon on the right. That's called the digital crown. It works sort of like the home button on your watch. What she was asking is which button we hit on the side. But the other button on the side of your watch is simply referred to as the side button. So we have the digital crown and the side button.
So that's the one.
On the same side. The same side.
Yeah, you just press that button on the side.
Just that one.
Just that one. You press and hold that one. Cool. All right. Any other questions about these features before we move on? Great. So let's talk about health. This is another feature I think that's going to be very beneficial to hear about. We talked about earlier in the video that Apple Watch can measure your heart rate, which is great, but Apple Watch can also show signs of AFib and other types of heart conditions, or heart symptoms, I should say. So AFib obviously isn't something that is completely indicative of a problem, but it could be something that could be a symptom of a larger problem. So if your watch detects AFib, you may want to have a conversation with your doctor about what that means. They can do some additional tests. But your watch can now detect signs of AFib. It can also detect high or low heart rate. I actually had this happen to me. I was on vacation this past year, and I was eating some very salty food and drinking having some drinks with my wife, and I got a notification that my heart rate was through the roof. That's pretty natural if you're drinking and having salty foods. But my watch knew I was just sitting down. I wasn't moving around. I wasn't working out. It was like, hey, your heart rate's 115 beats per minute. My normal heart rate's about 60 to 70. So it was like, hey, what's going on? And it's something that brought to my attention. So that's something that's very, very nice to have. Also, if your heart rate drops below a certain threshold, and you can set that threshold, you can have a conversation with your doctor about what that threshold should be. You can set a threshold so it will alert you if you have too low of a heart rate as well, which is really nice. So in addition to that, you can also do an ECG. For those of you who have Series 4, has anyone done this ECG before on your Apple Watch? Handful of you? Okay, so we'll show you how to do this a little bit later today. I mentioned that earlier, and that was shown in the video as well, is you can use the Apple Watch to do a single line ECG. Now what's really cool about this is you can also track this information and export a PDF for your doctor. So I have a coworker that had a heart condition, and for a long time he was going to the doctor every single month, and they had to run an ECG on him every single month just as a regular checkup. Now that he has an Apple Watch, he can, the current generation Apple Watch, to do an ECG, he can do an ECG from the comfort of his house, on a lunch break, wherever he is, and send that to his doctor, keeping him from going to the doctor quite as often, and also to stay on top of his heart health when he's on the go. So this is something that's very, very easy to do, and this is available on both the Series 4 as well as the Series 5. This is one thing that the Series 3 does not have as well. So like I said, if you're at all concerned about heart health, something I'd highly recommend going to the Series 5 as opposed to the Series 3 if you're looking at buying a new Apple Watch. Yes?
If you're thinking of getting a watch like this, but you're a little intimidated how to set this all up, can you go into the Apple Store and they'll show you how to set these apps up that you're interested in?
Yes, so if you have questions about how to set up some of these apps and use these apps for the first time, we'll go through a few demos here today, but you can always go into an Apple retail store or contact AppleCare. We'll talk about AppleCare in a little bit, but that's something that's always there to help you get through any questions that you have about a new Apple Watch or any other Apple product. So that's something I'd highly recommend. Yeah, perfect. So in addition to heart health, Apple Watch can now measure hearing health as well. So this is a very cool feature. We'll do a demo of this a little bit later. We'll get some people to be a little bit louder for us. But you can actually measure your current environment and how many decibels of audio you're dealing with. So if you're, let's say if you're at the Super Bowl this past weekend and everybody's cheering, it'll notify you. It'll send you a notification and tap you on your wrist. Hey, you're in a loud environment. Sound levels hit 90 decibels around 30 minutes at this level can cause temporary hearing loss. And it'll let you know what decibel level you're in. So you can make a decision of, hey, you know, I'm not going to be here for too long. 5 minutes of this is not going to be a big deal. Or, hey, you know what, I should move a little bit further away from that speaker, or I should put in some earplugs or something to that effect. So this is something that if you have a Series 4, this was an update that came with watchOS 6 this past fall. This is also available on the Series 5. This is not something that's available on the Series 3 or the older Apple Watches. So, cool. Any other questions about health while we're on health? Great. Okay, perfect. Some other cool features with Apple Watch is activity trends. So we talked about how to measure your activity and what those different rates are, but it'll actually even show you trends to let you know, are you improving? Are you exercising more? Are you exercising less? And you can even set up challenges with people. So, you know, you've got this amazing community here. If you wanted to, you could set up a challenge and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to hit more rings. We call them closing the rings. I'll close more rings than you this week, and you can set up challenges with each other, which is pretty cool. We occasionally have challenges with our team. But right here, you know, this says you're improving because you've got the arrow pointing up. 52 minutes per day of exercise. So this particular scenario, a lot of exercise, but it's down in terms of your moving, your exercise ring. So I'm only burning 482 calories per day, and then I'm standing only 10 hours per day. Right, so it'll show you tracking, and this is using the activity app on your phone. So we'll show you what that looks like as well. So cool. In addition, there's some other cool features you can use on Apple Watch that were introduced with watchOS 6 this past fall. One of those was voice memos. So if you're walking around Falcons Landing here and you have a great idea for a new project you want to work on or a speech or something like that, you can record yourself and keep that directly on your watch. So there's also a voice memos app that works great on your phone, but if you don't have your phone handy, you can just simply tap record on your watch and record on the go. In addition to that, did anyone have a calculator watch back in the 80s? I thought that was the coolest thing. But you now have a calculator built into your watch, which is really great. So if you need to calculate a quick tip, or you know, if somebody won something at a card game, you can calculate how much they owe you or how much you owe them, which is pretty nice. Previously, to install an app on the Apple Watch, you would have to go to the App Store on your iPhone, go to the Apple Watch app on your phone, and tap install. And if that sounds complicated, it was complicated. So now you can go directly to the App Store on your watch. It makes it super easy. So if you hear from someone else in the community, hey, I just got this great application for tracking you know, this particular workout that I'm doing, or if, let's say, Falcons Landing comes up with an app for different activities going around the community, you can download that app directly to your Apple Watch, which is really, really cool. So, cool. Any questions about these features before we move on?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Want me to talk? Okay. I'm trying to understand the difference between the way the phone is just naturally tracking my movement versus like setting, like what's the setting of like a activity goal, or like do I have to like start a workout on my phone before I start exercising if I want to
I would generally
accurately
recommend
track it?
Yeah, so I'd genuinely recommend starting an actual workout. If you're going to do a workout, yeah, and you'll do that on the workout application. We're going to do a live demo of the workout application a little bit later, but you can start and you can even customize some of those workouts and set specific goals. So for example, if you go out for a run, you can say, hey, I want to do 2 miles today, and your watch will tap you when you've hit those 2 miles. You can also use Siri to start that. There is something that's automatic activity detection, but just depending on what type of workout it is, it can be hit or miss. So for example, if I go for a long walk, after a certain amount of time, your watch will tap you and say, hey, it looks like you're going on a walk. Do you want to start a walking workout? And it'll ask you, is that what you're doing? If you go for a run, it'll do the same thing. It'll say, hey, you know, are you on a run? But for other types of activities, like for example, if you were doing like a yoga type workout, it would have no idea automatically what kind of workout you're doing. So that would be something you would start directly through the workout application or by using Siri. Yeah. 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 Great question. Perfect. So we've got a quick video that touches a little bit more about some of the health features we talked about, and hopefully this is something that will play without locking up. There we go.
Dear Mr. Cook.
Dear Apple.
Dear Tim.
To tcook@apple.com.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi.
Hey, good morning.
Nice to meet you. Okay, hello.
So, the run began as usual.
I was 32 weeks pregnant, getting ready to go to bed.
The next morning I'd have notifications on my watch and my phone saying,
Your heart rate is elevated. And I was like, huh,
that's strange.
And I run my EKG, and it says 220 beats. And I'm like, something's not right. I told my husband, like, we need to go. He was like, well, I'm in the middle of cutting grass. I'm like, we need to go.
And then suddenly I woke up to EMTs.
Oh, this is my husband, Kyle. He's going out to cut the grass.
When I fell, it automatically called 911, and then it calls my wife. When I think about what happened and what could have happened,
once we got to the hospital, they realized it was some sort of infection. My heart rate was spiking, and it was causing the baby's heart rate to get lower and lower. So, emergency C-section, and she was born.
Had I not had surgery, it estimated that I would have had a heart attack within less than 12 months.
I mean, like, I have goosebumps. I don't know if you can see them through, like, the camera. It's crazy.
It's not something you think of, your watch
Ugh.
saving your life.
Can you wave hi?
In the past, I didn't prioritize taking care of myself.
Yeah, so these are probably one of the largest pairs of pants I have. I'm standing in one of the legs of them.
But now I've gained the ability to be active in ways that I never would have dreamed of. All because the computer on my wrist told me it was time to fill the rings.
Yeah, closing rings. It's like this little reminder going, okay, you can do a little better today.
When I see the little rings of like, get your moves in today, sometimes I used to be like, mind your business, Apple Watch. But then it's like, you know what? I do need to get my move in.
I like the idea of achievements that you get for every small things done.
I just reminded me I should stand up, by the way.
这个数据就是那种无形的力量，就是在后面 push 你那种感觉。
I'm the blur.
He's the blur. Yeah, that's his nickname, is the blur. Harrison is on the autism spectrum, and he's on the cross-country and track teams here at the school. He was having some issues with anxiety and crowd noise.
The sound of the cheering just throws me off. So, I paired up my watch with my headphones, and the music helps me focus.
When he started running with the music playing, it was like seeing a different athlete. This moment of triumph, goosebumps and tears, and it was cinematic.
Apple needs to know this happened. What you did in your brainstorming sessions came to life and helped save mine.
Dear Tim.
Dear Apple. Dear Mr. Cook. I just had to tell my story. I will be forever grateful.
I had no idea that one day it would save my life.
What I want to say is thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. So that actually really works, believe it or not. But yeah, so two other things I want to call out that happened in that video that we hadn't addressed earlier is fall detection. You heard the one gentleman who talked about how he fell and what could have happened if he didn't have his Apple Watch. That was a feature that was introduced with Apple Watch Series 4. So it's not new with Series 5, but if you don't have an Apple Watch currently, or if you have Series 3 or before, and you're thinking about upgrading, Series 4 and Series 5 both have fall detection. So if I trip and fall and I'm immobile for 60 seconds, I'll get a tap on my wrist and it'll say, hey, are you okay? And I can either say, yeah, I'm fine, or I can say, no, I need help. Or if I don't respond, it'll automatically call emergency services. This is something that's very, very cool. And has anyone used that feature before or know somebody who's used that feature before? Yeah, so someone, have you used it yourself?
Who's raising their hand?
Perfect. The other feature that...
Now, if I can tell my story.
Yes, please do.
I didn't mean to test it, but I did. A month ago, I was coming back from the West Coast, tired, got off the plane at Dulles, started walking through the tunnel to baggage claim, and I got probably 50 feet from the entrance to baggage claim. Somehow my feet got out of sync. And the next thing I knew, I was flat on my face. And suddenly I'm thinking, what's going on? What am I going to do? And I hear this alarm going off. I said, oh my gosh, now there's a fire. What's going to happen? And then I realized it's coming from my wrist. So now I'm trying to find it, and there are many, many passengers coming down the tunnel right behind me. And I thought, I guess I'm really okay. And I was out there with a resident from Falcons Landing, and he showed up, and before I knew it, he was getting me back on my feet, which I told him not to do because Tammy tells me don't let anybody run. But I stood up, I'm fine, it works.
Great story. One other thing I want to mention that was shown in that video that we hadn't talked about earlier is Bluetooth. So the Apple Watch uses Bluetooth. You saw the kid that was running with headphones on. So if you ever want to listen to music or listen to an audiobook, you can pair up headphones directly to your Apple Watch. So you can leave your phone at home for phone calls, text messages, even listening to music. And we'll talk about some of the different models in just a few moments. I think I saw a few hands over here. Is there anything else?
Yeah. At one time after I had my watch, it refused to recharge. I took it to Apple and they fixed it and blah, blah. How do I know that fall prevent is still working, or would it not affect it?
It shouldn't affect it, just replacing the battery. If you do have any questions about if that's turned on or not, just find Tanja or I, or if she's got a few seconds while we're doing some of the demos, she can take a look at it, or you can find us immediately after, and we'd be happy to look at it and double check to make sure that it's turned on for you.
Thank you.
Perfect. Great. All right.
We have one more.
Oh, it's just at the end of the video.
How long does it normally take to charge the battery?
That's a great question. So on average, it should take about 2 hours to fully charge your battery, and you should get about 18 hours of use throughout the day. Now that battery life will change depending on what you're doing with your Apple Watch. So for example, if you're streaming music and listening to music without having downloaded it, it might use up a little bit more battery life if you're playing through Bluetooth headphones, or if you're doing an active workout. So your heart rate is measured using sensors along the bottom of the watch. And normally it only measures your heart rate every 15 minutes. But when you're doing a workout, it's measuring every 15 seconds. So having that additional light that's constantly shining on your wrist to measure your heart rate can chew up a little bit more battery life. But yeah, only 2 hours to fully charge. So if you, like occasionally I'll wear my watch to bed because it's great as an alarm clock. One of the first video we showed you earlier today showed a kid using it as an alarm clock in the morning. So if I'm going to wear my watch to bed, I'll usually charge it while I'm cooking dinner or getting ready for bed, put it on the charger for an hour or two, and it'll last me all night long.
Will it give you a warning when when a battery's charging is required?
Yes, so it'll let you know when your battery is getting low, and you can easily see that from the watch face. We'll show you how to do that on the go. But once your watch hits down to 10%, it'll give you a warning to go into low power mode. It'll automatically go into low power mode, I think at 5%, is it 5%? Is it automatic at 10%? So you can turn on low power mode, which just shows the time. It won't measure your exercise minutes and things like that, but it'll still allow you to see the time in low power mode, and that'll really drastically extend battery life to get you through several more hours of your day. So great question. Cool.
Okay, it's been 1 hour. I just got a tap. Everybody stand up. Stand up. Those that are able to.
You can swing your arms. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
If Tammy was here, she'll give us some exercise. So reach your hands up.
We had another question over here.
Move. Okay.
Well,
question.
I had kept recharging mine on the thing that I got for the phone and the watch, and I finally got a message from them saying that was not a compatible charger, and to use the one that I got with the watch, the little tiny white one.
Okay.
So I didn't realize it made a difference.
Sure. So the watch is going to come with a charger. Apple makes a lot of cables that you can use if you want additional chargers, and there are a lot of authorized manufacturers that make watch chargers as well. So it could have been like an off-brand that wasn't made with official Apple parts. The cable that came in the box should have been totally fine. So if they told...
Lois, wait for the mic. Hold on just 1 second.
When I bought the whole system, I got the iPhone, and it had a charger for the phone and the watch. And that's the one I was using, and it said not to use it. It was not compatible, so I have to go in the bedroom every night and do it.
Okay. Let's talk about that a little bit later, because that'll be a little bit more specific one-on-one. I think we had one more question up here.
Sir?
Murray, go ahead.
Sir?
Thank you. What is the best way to upgrade? I have a 4. What will I do with it? Because how do you get rid of 4 and get a 5? And how about I want to get a 6 when it comes out?
That's a fabulous question. We'll do a demo a little bit later. Remind me if I don't remember to address that, of how you would replace an Apple Watch. It's pretty straightforward. When you do the initial setup, it'll ask you, do you want to switch over your service from that watch to the new watch? But you can have multiple Apple Watches if you wanted to directly in the Apple Watch application and switch back and forth which one is currently paired.
No, I only want one on my wrist.
Sure.
But I got a 4, and I want to get a 5.
Yep.
What do we do? Throw the 4 away?
No, not at all. You can do a trade-in. There's actually a trade-in that just started on Apple.com like 2 days ago, I think, sometime earlier this week, where they're giving $100 back for Apple Watches. It could be someone in this community that wants to buy the Apple Watch Series 4 off of you, because they might not necessarily care about the always-on screen. So that would be another option for you.
And I just did that 2 days ago, and it took me about an hour at the Apple store. Nancy has another question.
Yes. So if you fall and you're maybe embarrassed or something and you say, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, but if you don't get up for maybe a few minutes, will it contact you again and call services?
It won't. So if you say, I'm fine, you can still use the emergency SOS feature and press and hold, but you'd have to initiate it. Yeah, that's a great question. Cool. All right. So like I mentioned, for the most part today, we're focusing on Series 5. Series 5 comes in 3 distinct colors. You've got silver, gold, and space gray. There's also 2 sizes. There's 40 millimeter and 44 millimeter. If you don't currently have an Apple Watch and you want to kind of see what's the right size for you, later today, come by. We've got this table up front, and we've got both a 44 and a 40 millimeter that you can try on and see what's the right size for you. But in terms of color and in terms of screen size, it's really going to come down to your personal preference. In addition to personal preferences, you have lots of different bands to choose from. By default, most of the watches are going to come with either the Sport Band or the Sport Loop. So this is what the Sport Band looks like right there. So you've got this, it's called a fluoroelastomer Sport Band. And then there's also the Sport Loop, which I currently have on right now. So the Sport Loop attaches with almost like this Velcro-like material, and you can choose how tight or how loose you want to wear it. So it's a very popular option as well. There's also leather bands, metal bands, whatever fits your style, both some made by Apple, some made by other companies as well. Very, very easy to interchange the band. If you want to see how to do that, come by the table and we'll show you exactly how to remove the band off of your watch. But you can customize it. I have probably 5 or 6 different bands. Tandra's probably got a whole boatload, and we'll switch out bands depending on whatever we're wearing that day or whatever our mood is, right? So if I'm going to the gym, I might put on the Sport Loop or the Sport Band, but if I'm going out with friends or on a nice night out, I might put on like one of the metal or leather bands just to mix it up a little bit, right? So in addition to that, I mentioned earlier AppleCare. Nancy had a question about service and support. So AppleCare is available on almost all Apple products. There's only a handful of like accessories and things like that that we don't offer AppleCare on, but this is something that supports you throughout your entire journey with Apple Watch or any sort of Apple product. I know a lot of you have used AppleCare before in the past. By show of hands, how many of you guys have used AppleCare before? Yeah, so a lot of you, right? We've talked about this before. There's an incredible application. We've already talked about you need to have an iPhone 6S or later. If you haven't downloaded this app yet, if you go to the App Store, there's an app called Apple Support. If you go to the App Store and search SUPPORT support, you can download this application. I don't have a picture of it up on the screen, but it shows you all the Apple devices that you own that are linked to your Apple ID. And directly from this app, you can do online chat, or you can schedule a call. So if you have questions about setting up your Apple Watch, resolving an issue that you're having, they can walk you through every single step of the journey. They'll spend as long as you want. If you want to spend 5 minutes setting it up, or if you want to spend 2 hours going through everything we talked about today, they're more than happy to do it with you. I know today is a lot of information that we're downloading. In addition to technical support, you also have accidental coverage as well and battery replacement. So I know we had a question earlier about battery replacement. If you ever do have battery life on your Apple Watch that isn't quite what it should be, AppleCare can also replace the battery for you. You can bring it into an Apple retail store, or there's also a lot of authorized Apple repair centers. Best Buy recently became an Apple authorized repair center as well. So I know you guys have seen some of you at the Sterling Best Buy or the Fair Lakes Best Buy, or there's also the Reston Best Buy. You can bring it in there. You don't have to necessarily go to the Reston Apple Store or the Fair Lakes Apple Store to get that type of repair and support. So there's a couple different models that we currently sell. I mentioned Series 3. This is the entry-level Apple Watch. Again, the Series 3 does not have some of the features we've talked about today. It does not have fall detection. It does not have the always-on screen. It does not have the built-in compass. It also has a slightly smaller screen. It's physically the same size watch, but doesn't have quite as full of a display. So in general, I probably would not recommend the Series 3 for most of the residents here. The Series 5 comes in a couple different types of materials, but the main thing that I would kind of focus on is the aluminum models, which come in either GPS only or GPS with cellular. All of the Series 5 with stainless steel, titanium, or ceramic, which we don't have on the slide here, they're a little bit more expensive, come with different materials but are functionally the same watch. They all do the exact same thing. The one other decision that I would recommend making is go with a cellular model if you're going to be somewhere without your phone. So if I have a GPS-only Series 5, but my phone is in my pocket, I can still make a phone call with my watch. I can send a text message with my watch. I can download music onto my watch very, very easily. I can make an emergency call. But if I don't have my phone on me, like if I want to go out for a walk, I want to go on a hike, I'm on the golf course, and my phone is in my bag, back home, wherever, if you have a cellular model and you have that cellular plan turned on, you have access to the internet wherever you are. You can download an app on the go. You can stream music on the go. You can make phone calls. You can send text messages. So I was on a run the other day, and one of my coworkers called because he had a question, and I had Bluetooth headphones in my ear, and I was able to take that phone call even though my phone was almost 1.5 miles away at my house. Right? So that's something that you can do with the cellular models that you cannot do with the GPS models. So if you get a GPS model, just remember to do some of the things we've talked about today. You do need to have your iPhone with you or within about a 30-foot range. So any questions about that? Cool. All right, so I promised you guys I was going to go through some live demos, so we're going to do that right here. Before we move on, any questions about features of the Apple Watch that we haven't addressed? Okay, so some of the demos we're going to go through today is how to change the watch face and customize the watch face. We're going to show some of the different complications you can do. We'll talk about the activity ring and exercise as well, and how you can turn on an exercise. We had that question earlier today. We'll also talk about how to do communication. We can text people, we're going to call people. Tandra's going to be my guinea pig on that. Anything else that anyone would like to see that we should address? Yes?
Cleanliness.
Cleanliness, okay. What do you mean by that?
I wear it all the time. How do I keep it clean?
Okay, so we're probably not going to do a demo of that, but because I don't have any cleaning cloths here, but that's a great question.
The question was cleanliness.
Yes.
Cleanliness.
Cleanliness, yes. So since the Apple Watch is water resistant, if you have anything that happens where like the digital crown isn't spinning freely, even on Apple's support site it says run it under the sink. and spin the digital crown. You don't have to submerge it. Again, these are water resistant. So occasionally I'll wear mine in the shower with me and lather it all up if I had a pretty heavy gym session. So they're pretty water resistant, they're sweat resistant, they're chemical resistant. So I just wouldn't use like something abrasive, like a stainless steel cleaner without like taping off the edges. But yeah, something like just simple soap and water is totally fine. It's a great question. Cool. All right. Well, let me switch over here. We're going to switch over to the camera on my iPad, because this was the best way to show you. Can everybody see my screen okay? Oh, yeah. Okay, nice and big. Is it big enough? Yes. All right, let me lock that in place. Cool. All right. So right here, let me wake up my watch right here. So right here we have a watch face that I have. This watch face is called California, and you can switch between watch faces very easily. Just by swiping from left to right. And please follow along. If you have an Apple Watch, if you want to try this out for yourself, please feel free to try it out for yourself. So with your watch faces, you can customize them. We do what's good. Yes?
Before you go into customizing, how do you lock it? It's always
Linda?
floating around.
Linda?
The question was, how do you lock your Apple Watch?
The face. The face. The face.
What do you mean by locking the face?
I just want the one face all the time.
And you never want to change it?
Rarely.
Okay, so by default, it will not move unless you swipe left or right. Notice if I swipe up and down, it does something different. If I touch the screen, it's not doing anything. So unless you're doing that prolonged swipe left or right, it shouldn't change watch faces on you. But I'll touch on one thing that you can do to keep from changing. So if I do, what I want you all to do, if you're following along on your watches, I want you to do a deep press. So I want you to press harder than you might think you have to, and you'll feel a click on your watch. So go to your watch face, do a deep press, and if you have any questions, feel free. Jim or Tandra can help you out and help you figure out where we're missing something. So if you do a deep press in your watch face, what you should see is that, like you see on the screen right here, is you should see the name of that watch face and a button that says Customize. If you have any trouble finding that, please raise your hand. Okay, perfect. So what we're going to do is I'm going to create a brand new watch face. So I'm going to swipe from right to left until I see this tab that says New. So what I want you to do is swipe from right to left until you see something that says New and has a plus symbol. Again, if you have any trouble, just please raise your hand. Yes? Okay, perfect.
It got dim all of a sudden.
That's okay. If it got dim, just tap on the screen and it should wake itself right back up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap New. I'm going to add plus, and we're going to choose a different watch face. So you can scroll through all of the different watch faces, and just so we're all consistent, I'm going to pick one that's called Simple. This should be on any generation of Apple Watch.
It just happened.
So I'm going to look for one that's called Simple, and I'm just going to simply tap on it. So, anybody still working?
We'll do it later.
Cool. All right. So once you've created that watch face and we're on Simple and you've tapped on it, you should see what I see right there on my screen. You should see a pretty basic watch face, and you'll see a couple complications. So you can see in the upper left-hand corner of my screen, if you watch the screen up here, yours may vary, but it should be pretty similar. In the upper left-hand corner, I have a cloud. That's my weather complication. In the upper right, I see activity, so those 3 rings we talked about earlier. In the bottom right, you have heart rate. And then in the bottom left, you have the workout application. So those are complications.
Linda just wasn't here earlier when you talked about what a complication is. It's a term that goes back many, many years.
Many, many years. Centuries, really. So any watch you've ever used in your life, if it has any dials on it that tells you anything other than the current time, that's referred to as a complication. So if you have a traditional watch, that you've had for decades, and it has the date on it, if it has, month on it, anything like that. There's a couple other watches that might have other types of complications. That's all just simply referred to as a complication. So it's just a feature of that watch. So cool. So we're going to customize this particular watch face. So what we're going to do again is press deeply on the display, and you should see where it says simple up at the top. You should see the watch face and the button that says customize. We're going to tap customize. So the first option that I see right here is style. So on my digital crown, so once again, on the right side of my watch, that round icon is called my digital crown. And you can spin that digital crown and change the style that I see on my watch. So you see that it's showing all the numbers on my watch by 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 40 seconds. And if I spin it the other way, those dials disappear. So now I would just have the second hand and minute hand and hour hand on my watch. So everybody see that? So I can customize what I like in terms of style of my watch. So I'm going to leave it on this particular style right now. So if you can see up at the top of my screen, there's 3 dots. The one on the left is a bright white spot, and then I've got 2 gray dots. Does everyone see that up on my screen? So what those are different pages.
Very top of the 12 o'clock position.
Yeah, let me, sorry, my watch fell asleep for a second. So you see right there, up at the top? So I've got those dots. What that means is I have 3 different pages of customization. What I'm going to do is swipe from right to left, and you can see that it changed to changing the color of my second hand. So now I can use the digital crown, and you can see the name of the color that I want. So I love blue. I'm going to use royal blue. Actually, it doesn't show up very much on this screen. I'm going to use something a little, we'll use pink. That probably shows up pretty well on the screen. There we go. So I'm using pink as my watch, my second hand on my watch. And if I swipe one more time, you'll see these highlights around the corners of my watch. That enables me to change the complication. So what I'm going to start off doing is, let's say I don't particularly care to see the weather all the time or weather conditions. I'm going to tap in the upper left-hand corner. You'll see that turned into like a light green, and it tells me weather conditions. And once again, I'm going to use the digital crown on the right side of my watch and spin through other types of complications. Now, if you have other third-party applications installed on your watch, so like let's say you downloaded E-Trade or any other type of application, you'll see those apps show up in complications. A lot of different applications have complications available. So for example, if I wanted to look up, calendar, calculate, like let's say I want to put the calculator right there. I'm using calculator a lot. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, instead of my heart rate, I want messages right there. So I can customize those complications based on this watch face. Is everyone following along?
Did you put like Reston Town Center parking on there or something?
So she asked, could I put Reston Town Center parking on there? If a application developer, if a third-party app has a complication available, it'll show up on this list. So it's up to the developer to create the complication for the Apple Watch, but a lot of different applications do. So if you have a watch app, chances are it's probably got a complication, but not every single application will, so keep that in mind. So any questions about that so far? Did anyone have any trouble customizing that watch face? Okay, yeah, get with us later. Did anyone else? Pretty straightforward? Perfect. So what I'd like you to do is just take a few seconds and go over here to type new again. And so create a new watch face. And what I want you to do is take a few seconds and swipe through and see all the different watch faces that are available. And you can pick any that look interesting to you. And I want you to take a few seconds and customize it. So in my case, I'm going to pick something like Mickey Mouse. And I'm going to do customize. And I'm going to pick Mickey Mouse, and I'm going to choose a different color. So I'm going to pick classic black and white. And I'm going to put the noise app on there. There we go.
You initially have to push the button on the side.
To change a watch face, all you have to do is do a deep press on the screen, and that'll enable you to tap Customize. Is everybody who has Apple Watch, were you able to customize a watch face for yourself? So while a few people are still working, just a fun thing with Mickey or Minnie, you probably won't be able to hear it.
It's 2:30. Good afternoon.
Everyone hear that? So the Mickey Mouse watch face, well, if you tap the screen,
It's 2:30.
right there. So if you tap the watch face, it'll tell you the time, which is kind of a fun thing. So cool. All right. So that's how you customize a watch face. So you can customize as many watch faces as you like. If you don't want to use this watch face anymore, if I do another deep press on the screen, you'll see right there where it says Mickey Mouse and Customize. If I swipe up, it'll give me the option to remove. So the question we got earlier is, what if you just want one watch face and you never ever want to change it? You can remove everything other than the ones that you want. So by default, you'll probably have a lot of different watch faces already set up on your watch when you first take it up out of the box and get it set up. But if you don't like any of those particular watch faces, or you want to change them and pick different colors, you can do that very, very easily by just simply pressing deeply and then swiping up. And tapping remove. So you can do that to as many watch faces as you want, and you can create as many watch faces as you want.
No, I believe I'm correct that when you remove a watch face, you're not really removing it, because these faces are all on the Apple Watch app on your iPhone. Am I correct?
So when you remove a watch face, it's removing that customization of that watch face. You can always set it up again, but that is deleted off of your watch. So if for example, I deleted the simple watch face that we just set up, it doesn't mean I can never go back to a simple watch face. It just means I've deleted that version, right? So I took that template of the simple watch face and made it custom how I wanted it. If I wanted, I could make every single watch face on my watch the same exact design with just slightly different changes, like a slightly different color for the second hand or a slightly different complication. If you wanted to do that, you could. So it's completely up to you how you customize that. So my default watch face tends to be this one with California, just simply called California, or this one, which is pretty simple. And on the complications that I use a lot is over here on the left, I have weather. So it shows that a current temperature outside is 37 degrees. It might be hard to see there up on the screen, but it tells me the range of temperature for the day is 36 to 40. And then over on the right-hand side, I have my activity rings. And then I also have today's date and what day of the week it is. So personally, that's what I use on my watch a lot. But the great thing about Apple Watch is it's totally customizable to you. So you get a chance to pick what you want on your watch face and make it totally personal. And you can change it out however you want. Any questions about the watch? Yes, there's a question back there.
I've been customizing it using the Apple Watch app.
Yes, that's another great option, and I'll show that in a minute, but that's a great call out. So what he mentioned is that he's also customized some of his watch faces directly through the Apple Watch app on his iPhone. So if you do not find it fun to sit here and do this directly on your watch, if you want to, you can do all of these customizing options directly through the Apple Watch app that exists on your phone, which is pretty cool. And that'll sync directly over to your watch, which is pretty nifty. So while we're here on the watch face, I want to show you a couple cool things you can do that you may have done in the past by accident or may have never seen before. So if I swipe from the top down on my watch right here, it's going to show me any notifications that I have. For example, Tandra accepted my walkie-talkie invite earlier today, and it tells me right there, keep it going. So Tandra can go ahead and send me a text message or try to call me.
Hey Siri,
I put her on the spot.
call Noah Hayes.
There we go. So it says right there, Tandra Marshall, work, and I can hit accept. And right there, I should be talking. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
Great, perfect. So this is because my phone is on right here. You can also see, whoop, She just hung up. That's okay. What I was going to show you is when you're in the middle of a phone call, you can switch that call directly over to your phone. So if you answer a call on your watch, you can pick up your phone and tap the icon where the speaker, normally if you wanted to put it on a speaker, speaker mode, you can switch it over to your phone and take the call on your phone. There we go. So I'll hit accept. Whoop. For some reason it said hand it off. I don't know why I did that. There we go. So there's my phone. And oh, you know what? Because we have those headphones open over there. That's why. So right here, if I switch over to my iPhone, that's all you would have to do. So we had the headphones paired up over there. So I'd be able to switch that over here to my phone. Perfect. Awesome. So if I got a text message or if an app had a notification, I'm going to see that right here from the top. So if I just swipe down from the top of my screen, it's going to show me any notifications that I get. Now, if I want to clear out a notification, like let's say I don't want to see this walkie-talkie notification anymore, I can just simply swipe, and I can tap that X to clear out that notification. Or if I do that deep press deeply into the screen, you'll see the option of clearing all. So if you have a lot of different notifications and you don't want to swipe, delete, swipe, delete, swipe, delete, you can just simply press clear all. Very, very useful. From the bottom of the screen, if you swipe up from the bottom of the screen, you're going to see a lot of the settings for your Apple Watch. So if you swipe up from the bottom, you'll see right here, because I'm connected to my phone, that's the reason why the cellular icon shows as white. You'll see that icon right there in the upper left-hand corner of my watch. That shows that my phone is nearby, and that's why my watch does not need to use a cellular connection. If I threw my phone outside and came back in here, this icon would look as green, and because it's currently connected to a cellular network. That's an option. You can also have Wi-Fi turned on or off. So if I wanted to disconnect from Wi-Fi, I can do that right there. And you'll also see, I think we had a question earlier about battery life and how do you check how your battery life is looking on your watch. That's right here. On the right-hand side. So it says 76%. That's my current battery life. And right there I can turn on power reserve mode. That was that safety mode we talked about earlier that puts my phone, just shows the time and doesn't show anything else to extend battery life. And also here it shows me any connected headphones. So I have our headphones that are open right up over there, and it's showing that my watch is currently connected to those headphones, which is pretty cool. So I'll cover this feature just in a second. On the left-hand side, this icon that looks like a phone with kind of a ringing sound. Cover that in a second. Let's cover these other pieces first. Who knows what this icon on the right is, this moon? Does anyone know? See a hand over here?
That's for at night. You can have a mask. It turns off for sleeping purposes.
You could use it. Yeah, you could use it for sleeping purposes. What is it called? Does anyone know? Huh? So that's not theater mode. That's the one with the masks. I'm talking about the crescent moon icon. Does anyone know what that's called? It should be on your iPhones, your Macs, your iPads. You may have seen it before.
This is my first time supporting you.
It's called Do Not Disturb. Anyone heard of that before? So if you turn on Do Not Disturb, right here, it'll give you the option of just simply turning it on for an hour, on until this evening, or until the end of the event. So we have this demo event today, so if I said I want to turn it on until the end of this event, at 3:01, my Apple Watch will automatically switch off Do Not Disturb. So with Do Not Disturb turned on, if somebody tries to call me, text me, I won't get a notification on my watch because I need to be focused on you guys right now, right? So, but at 3:01, that feature would turn off, so if somebody tried calling me, they would immediately ring on my watch, my phone, etc. Now, if somebody is saved in your contacts as a favorite, or if they call repeatedly, you can have that turn on to automatically bypass Do Not Disturb. So if you have a loved one that needs to get a hold of you, they can still get through if they need to, even if you have Do Not Disturb turned on. That's a feature that's available. So Jim mentioned that this icon on the right-hand side with the masks is called theater mode. So theater mode disables the raise to wake feature, whereas I raise my wrist, it'll turn on. So that's great if you're in a movie theater. So I use that if I'm going to a movie theater, I can turn that feature on, and that'll disable the screen. So if I cross my arms, my watch doesn't shine brightly in my face. So that's a feature that you can turn on. So if I tilt my watch away and I come back, you see that my screen is dark. Right? So that's a very similar experience to what you'd have on the Series 3 or Series 4 until you raise your wrist. That's an optional thing that you can turn on. So that's theater mode. On the left-hand side, we have the ringer, so I can turn the ringer on or off, just like that switch on the side of your phone. This is walkie-talkie, so that enables me to be available or unavailable for walkie-talkie, and we'll show walkie-talkie a little bit later. So with that yellow, and it's kind of hard to see on the screen here, let me see if I can darken that a little bit more to make it easier to see. Is that better? Perfect. You can't tell up there, but that is bright yellow on the screen, so that's walkie-talkie. Then you also have these other settings right here. This icon on the right turns on a flashlight. So if you came home late and you can't find the light switch, if I turn on flashlight, you've got a couple different modes for flashlight. You've got a blinking light, you've got red so it doesn't kill your night vision, or bright white. Now if I tap that screen, it's hard to tell, but it is very, very bright on my wrist. Yeah, I see a few of you guys using that right now. So if you have that turned on, and I'm just going to simply click the digital crown to turn it off, that's a great little flashlight that you have access to on your watch to pick it up wherever you go. So occasionally if I drop something under the seat of my car and my phone isn't handy, it's on the mount in my car, I can use that feature to brighten up the area, which is pretty cool. So last couple features that we have on here, on the bottom right, this is called AirPlay. So this enables us to switch between different types of Bluetooth devices. So if I had a Bluetooth speaker, Bluetooth headphones, I can choose what type of device that I want to use. So I've got all our headphones over there, I've got some studios, and I can switch between those very easily on what device is outputting sound. These last two down here is airplane mode. So if I want to turn off all the wireless radios on my watch from Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, etc., that's airplane mode down here in the bottom left. And then finally, who's used the water drop icon before? Does anyone know what that does? Yes, I see an arm back there. What does it do for you?
It tells you that it has water in
it helps disable the screen. So when I turn this on, watch what happens when I touch the screen. You'll see a little water drop icon up at the top of the screen, but my watch is not responding to touch anymore. So if you go for a swim, if you turn on water mode, it keeps you from accidentally touching the screen. Because your screen responds to the electrical current in your fingertips, if you're underwater, sometimes your screen might accidentally try to send a text message or answer a phone call or even something funky on your watch because water conducts electricity. So under the water, you probably want to turn on water mode. There's one other thing that he mentioned that's really important about water mode, and it's going to be hard to hear, so I'll put it up to the microphone, is when I turn this dial to turn off water mode, let me wake up my phone again. You'll see that it shows unlocked, and it shows those little droplets, right? I'm going to turn it on again and hold it up to the microphone so you can hear what it's doing. Did everyone hear that? It's like the subtle do-do-do-do-do. What it's doing is it's actually using the speaker on your Apple Watch to force water out of the hole where the speaker comes through. So it helps keep the inside of your watch dry. So that's really useful if you go for a swim, you're in the shower, whatever. Turn on pedicure bath, sure. So I don't know if your watch would be on your ankle for that, but yeah, for any reason, if your watch gets wet, excessively wet, you can turn that feature on and then spin the digital crown to turn off water mode. It'll force all that water right out of your Apple Watch. Now, at the end of the day, if you don't use that, you don't absolutely have to use that, but it's something that can help force that water out before it dries. So especially if you go in like the ocean, for example, you don't want any of that salt water drying inside your watch. It can impact the performance of that microphone and speaker on your watch. I think I saw a hand here. Yeah.
Do you need to turn that on if you're taking a shower?
You do not need to turn it on. Especially in the shower, you're less likely to get water completely in that port. It doesn't hurt to turn it on and spin that on when you get out of the shower, though. So it's something that I typically would recommend when you're in any type of submerged water or in the shower, but it's not absolutely required. I would definitely recommend it if you are going into any sort of like pool where you've got chlorinated water or ocean where you have salt water. Also highly recommended is if you get out of those types of environments, a pool or a salt water like an ocean, run your watch under regular clean water, like under the sink, just to make sure you get any of those chemicals off of your watch. Great question. Cool. Any other questions about these complications so far, or these features so far? Yeah.
Noah?
Yes, ma'am.
Going back to the one that says you can turn it on temporarily, so when you leave the meeting at 3 o'clock.
Do not disturb?
That was it, do not disturb, okay. How did it know the meeting's over at 3? Because it's on your calendar?
Yes, that's a great question. So that's because it's on my calendar, and I had it on my calendar from noon to 3, just because I got here a little bit earlier. So that's the reason why it's showing that time. That's a great question. Normally, if you don't have anything currently on your calendar, it'll just say for an hour or till the end of this meeting. Did we lose? Oh, we lost the screen there for a second. There we go. Cool. So the last thing that I skipped over is this feature yep, someone already hit it right there. So this icon right here will help you find your phone. Has anyone misplaced their phone before? Happens, right? So if I tap ping, you can hear that. So if I tap ping, it'll make my phone make a sound regardless of where it is, and my phone is on silent right now. So even if my phone is on silent, I'm able to make that sound. So if someone took my phone and it was somewhere in the room, I could simply do that. You can also press and hold. I'm going to try to slide my phone in here so you can see it. So if I press and hold that icon there, you'll see that it turns on that flashlight on the back of my phone. So I'm going to hold my phone awkwardly here. So if I press and hold that icon, you see that light shines. So if I can hear my phone but I can't see where it is, I can still use that icon to track down my phone. What do you guys think? Pretty cool, huh? So that's the basics of changing a watch face and all the other swipe gestures you'd have on your actual Apple Watch. So if you swipe up from the bottom, you get access to those settings right there. If you swipe down from the top, you'll see any sort of notifications. Cool. So we're going to quickly go through activity. I know, wow, we're really cutting it close. Wow. Cool. So if we go through activity, I'm going to simply click the digital crown in on the right side of my watch, and you'll see that you can see all of the different applications that I have installed. So if you're following along on your watch, go ahead and click that digital crown in, and you'll get a chance to see all of your applications. I want to go to activity. So if I go to activity, you'll see the status of my rings. And if I scroll down, you'll see the status of those goals. So I have a goal right now of 360 active calories per day. I've burned 224 so far. I've only exercised for 3 minutes. That I might have been walking around a little bit earlier. And I've stood for at least 1 minute for 6 hours per day. And I'll show you the trends throughout the day. So there's one particular hour while I was driving here where I didn't raise my wrist or I didn't stand up. Shows me how many steps that I had and total distance. If I wanted to change this move goal from 360 either up or down, all I have to do is do that deep press, press deeply into the screen. You'll see right there you can look at a weekly summary, or I can change my move goal. So if I hit change my move goal, I can turn it up, I can turn it down, and I can change it, and I can hit update. You'll also see this icon down here along the bottom of the screen. Those 3 dots mean there's multiple pages of information. So if I swipe from right to left, I can see activity that I'm sharing with people right there. Or I can see awards that I've won. So I guess for February, the challenge of my month was 164 of 990 exercise minutes. So based off of my goal, I'm supposed to exercise 990 minutes this month. It's a good thing that's early in the month because I need to step it up. You can also start competitions, and you can also see former monthly challenges that you've succeeded and other types of awards. So that's the great thing about your Apple Watch is, especially if you're new to Apple Watch and you just got one, it can keep track of your activity and kind of cheer you on. So it'll let you know, hey, great job, you exceeded your goal, or hey, see if you can hit 200% next time. Any questions about the activity app? Yes?
I noticed that it tries to call me by name, but it's the wrong name. So how do I change, hey, so-and-so, into my
Is it mispronouncing your name, or it's a completely different name?
Completely different name.
Did a family member set up your watch? Okay, so her question, if you didn't hear it, was her watch is currently calling her a different name. So what we identified is it sounds like a family member set up your watch. So we'll just need to make sure that you would probably need to unpair your watch and then pair it to your phone again after changing one setting in contacts. In your contacts, there's a way of designating who you are in your contacts. You can also tell Siri, hey, this is who I am, and that should resolve that issue for you. But find Tandra or myself afterwards, and we can help you through that. Or if you don't have time, you can go and contact AppleCare, and they can walk you through that as well. Okay. So good question. Any other questions about the activity app? Yes? See, no? Okay, cool. All right. So a couple questions we had earlier are about workouts. So right over here, there's this little guy running. It's a green icon. Well, it should show as green. Green icon with a guy running. And right here, you're going to see a lot of different workouts. And depending on if you've done workouts recently, you'll see a different set of workouts up there. But if I go for an indoor walk or high-intensity interval training or open water swim, you've got all those different workouts right there. And you can use the digital crown or just swipe on your screen to switch between workouts. I can also hit add a workout if there's something that I don't see on my list. So let's say I'm going to do core training or dance. I can add that on here. So for this particular case, I'm just going to, actually, if you have an Apple Watch, I want you to go to the workout app, and I'm going to ask you to do an indoor walking workout, or indoor run, it doesn't matter, indoor walk. I want you to find that in the activity app. And when you find it, instead of just simply tapping on it, because if you tap on it, it'll simply start the workout. What I want you to see is in the upper right-hand corner of that workout, there's a ... And if you select that ... it'll allow you to look at an open goal, set a calorie goal, distance, or time. So in my particular case, I'm going to set a 15 seconds, all right? Just as an example. So I'm going to simply tap start, and it's going to say 3, 2, 1, start. And you can see right there in the bottom left-hand corner, it says BPM, beats per minute. It's measuring my heart rate right now, which is 94, which is a little bit high. I guess I've been walking around a little bit around the room. But if you do active, it'll show me my active calories, total calories, and how many feet I've walked. Now I'm standing still, but if I was moving around the room right now, it would show how many feet I've moved, which is pretty nifty. And you'll see if I swipe from right to left, if I was playing music right now, I'd be able to change the song directly from the watch. If I tap play, I don't have any music synced up right now, but if I was playing music right now, I would be able to quickly switch between tracks. I'd be able to see what's coming up next. And if I swipe from right to left again, I can lock my screen. Like let's say I was in the pouring rain and I wanted to lock my screen so I didn't accidentally touch it. I can also pause my workout or end my workout. Now because I haven't really burned any calories yet, it's not showing me the ability of doing new. Okay, so it gave me enough time to show new. If I wanted to quickly switch my workout from an indoor walk to let's say an indoor run, I could simply tap new and I'll have the option of switching over to a different type of workout. So if you use the gym equipment here and you're doing the elliptical and then you don't want to end your workout, you just want to jump immediately over to doing weightlifting or any other type of cardio, you can just simply tap add and switch over to that other workout without having to stop your workout. Has anyone used workouts before? Handful of you? I know Tandra goes to the gym for hours every day. Just steps. Okay. Well, I highly encourage you to take a look at this application and try a workout. Again, you don't have to do anything too strenuous. You can do any type of workout that you like, and right here it'll give you a summary of what your percentage was to completion, and even what the current weather was if you were doing an outdoor walk. So again, you can customize your workouts, and I can look at adding a workout. There's so many different options on here: Pilates, strength training. There's a whole mess of them on there. So I don't know if there's anything in Z, but water sports, water fitness, Tai Chi, stair steppers, squash, all kinds of different things in there. You can check them out, and I highly recommend you checking those out on your own time. Any questions about workouts or activity? Yes.
Is this aerobic or anaerobic?
Well, I believe the answer to that is if it's more than 20 minutes of workout, it's aerobic. Tandra might know. She's more in the workouts than I am. Okay. How would you answer that question, Tandra?
Because I go through the machines and I can't get anything on the watch.
think I see a hand over here.
I put it on other.
You put it on other.
Yeah, I would say yes.
Other?
Depending on that, if you do like an indoor walk, if your heart rate doesn't hit a certain round, then it doesn't log it as an actual workout. So I would just leave it, to your point, as open.
Okay.
And then it'll log the workout as such.
You may want to repeat that up for the microphone for everyone here.
Yeah. So what happens at times, if your heart rate doesn't increase during the walking, it won't record it as it won't go toward your activity goal. And so what you want to do is leave it open, and that'll record the walk regardless, and you'll get that credit for your ring. So it'll close.
Did it answer your question? Perfect. Great. So I know we've talked.
I learned that the hard way.
What do you mean by leaving it open?
So what she means by leaving it open is when you do like an other workout, or if you do any of these workouts and leave it as an open workout as opposed to calorie or time.
Yep.
Is that what you meant?
Yeah. Honestly, what I would even recommend, depending on what you're doing, is just leaving it as an other with an open goal, and it'll record as such.
Perfect.
Right. That's very handy.
Great. So I know we've got 5 minutes. How are we doing on, is there someone else that's using this room if we go slightly over? Okay. If you do have to leave, I totally understand. Sorry we ran a little bit late, but we had some great questions along the way. So I do want to show you some things about health, and then we'll go into some communication. Is that okay? Yeah. Cool. So we talked about heart rate. So you saw during the workout application that I was able to measure the heart rate. But if I go back to my watch face, right down here, I've got these two apps right here. One is showing heart rate. So I can see my active heart rate. I can see my heart rate throughout the day. I can see my resting rate, my walking average, indoor walk, and it'll show me any workouts that I've done. And if I tap the upper left-hand corner and tap current, you can also see other types of information just at a glance. So right here, it's measuring my heart rate. This was as of a minute ago, but you can see that my resting rate for the day, my average has been 59 beats per minute. So you can do that directly through the heart rate application, and that will automatically save information into the health application on your iPhone, which I'll show you in a few moments as well. So right next to my heart rate application, it's kind of hard to see there on the screen. Let me see if I can darken the screen a bit for us. Is that easier? Yeah, that should be easier to see. So there's this ECG app right here with this little chart. So if I tap on that icon, you'll see the ECG, and that's that swirling icon. So to close the loop, I need to use my finger on the right side of the watch. And I'm not going to do it for a full 30 seconds, but you get the idea. So I can do an ECG directly on my Apple Watch right there. So if I hold this for a full 30 seconds, it'll create the full report, which I can do. Actually, I mean, we're almost halfway there.
Do you have any pass out?
So normally you should do this sitting down, because you do have to rest your finger there for an extended period of time. There we go. Oh, should I not breathe? So it says the ECG does not show signs of arterial fibrillation. And it's telling you right there, if I feel well, if I'm not feeling well, I can add a symptom right there. So that's all directly in the ECG app, and that's really all there is to it for the ECG app. So both of those are really, really accessible, and you can use those at any time. And again, those are going to automatically port information over to the health app on your iPhone. Any questions about those features at all? Okay, so while we're talking about health, I want to open up the noise application. And everybody shout, clap, scream, whatever you got. You can do better than that. All right, so we hit 78 decibels. Oh, 83, there we go. So you can see right there as I'm talking. Oh.
Suddenly it's gotten fuzzy.
It's got a little fuzzy. Let me tap on the screen again for us. Is that better?
Yeah.
Perfect. So you can see right here that my current volume is totally fine. Long-term exposure isn't going to create a problem. But when we hit 83, did you guys see how it went yellow for a second? So if we go, hello, if I go up and shout at it, you can see 90 right there. So it goes yellow, and it says long-term exposure to that volume could create an issue. So that's something that's available in both Series 4 and Series 5, and that is going to help out with your noise, your hearing health, which is great. And that will also transfer over to the health application. So while we're talking about the health application, and actually you'll see, let me see, can you see my phone okay? There you go. So I just got a notification that said, let me unlock my phone there. If I look at my health application right here, has anyone used the health application before on their iPhone? A few of you guys? So let me change this again. So directly in here, I can look at a summary. And if I look right here, I can read information about my heart health. So I can see that I've got my heart rate at this particular day was 102 beats per minute. My resting heart rate over the past 3 months. I can look at my blood pressure. But like, let's say I look at my resting heart rate, I can look at it over a period of time. So I can look at over the course of a year what my heart rate looked like, which is pretty cool. I can also look at my overall heart rate and see any sort of particular spikes on weeks.
Thank you.
Take care. You're welcome. So you can look at this by week, by day, by month, by year, all directly in the health application. So, cool. So I highly recommend you check this app out. In this app, you can also edit and choose what information you see on the front of the screen. You can also tap on your face and set up medical ID. So there I've got my mom, my wife, and my dad on medical ID. And if I tap edit, I can add a lot of different things. So if I had a medical condition, if I had any particular allergies or medication I was taking, if I was registered or not for organ donation, I can put that on there as well. And this is all directly accessible on your phone, even if your phone is locked. So if my phone is locked, if I press and hold these buttons, you can see right there it says medical ID. So if I swipe and show that right there, it shows all that information that I have saved. So you can just press and hold the side button and the volume button. Oh, I think it got fuzzy again. There we go. And you can view medical ID. So that's with the phone. So one last thing while I'm on my phone is if I look right here under the Apple Watch app, which is available on all of your iPhones. If you have an Apple Watch, you'll see the same interface that I see. If you have never owned an Apple Watch, you'll just see the option to say start pairing. When you first get an Apple Watch, you use this app to set up your Apple Watch. But I think we heard this gentleman in the back who mentioned that you can also edit your watch faces directly through here. This is also the application that you would choose if you were setting up a new Apple Watch, like this gentleman in the front asked if you wanted to remove your old Apple Watch from your Apple account, from your iCloud account. If I go right here to my Apple Watch up here at the top of the screen, I can tap the I for information, and I can hit unpair my Apple Watch. So the stores will absolutely help you through this process if you have questions about it. But if I needed to remove my Apple Watch from my device because I'm trading it in or selling it, you just need to make sure that you unpair your Apple Watch from your iPhone. Pretty straightforward. Yes?
Does that remove all the information?
Yes, this removes all of the information and completely wipes your Apple Watch and resets it back to factory standards. Great. All right. So I know we haven't had time to talk about communicating. Does anyone have any specific questions about communicating with Apple Watch? I don't know how many people left that have Apple Watch versus still need Apple Watch. Yes?
Walkie-talkie?
Walkie-talkie, great question. So Tandra's in the middle of talking right now, so let me see if I can steal Tandra for a second to do a walkie-talkie demo. But the walkie-talkie app is right here. It's this yellow icon. With this kind of old-style walkie-talkie. So if I tap on Tandra right there and I say, checking availability, so if she hasn't turned that feature off on the bottom of her Apple Watch, she should show up there. And I can say, oh, she's talking right now. You can see that. So you can't hear her right there, but she just said, hey, Noah. And I can say, hey, how's it going? What are you up to? And I'll automatically play on her watch. So this is immediate conversation. So you don't have to call someone and wait for them to pick up. It's just an immediate conversation. And if their watch is on their side, if they're not actively using their watch, they'll feel a notification. When they raise their wrist, they'll be able to listen to that message that you sent. Yes?
A cell phone function, a Wi-Fi function, what are you using for media?
So the question was, does this use Wi-Fi or cellular? Was that the question?
Yes.
It can use both. So if I'm out on a run or a walk and I don't have my phone nearby, it will use cellular connection. If you're at your home on Wi-Fi or near your iPhone, it will use Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. But it does go through the internet. So it's not like a traditional cell phone call. So as long as you're connected to the internet, you've got the ability to use walkie-talkie. I saw another.
The part of your calling could be someplace else on Wi-Fi, and you could actually...
Correct. Yeah, so this is completely disconnected from any sort of cellular service. So you just need to be connected to the internet. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, as long as you're connected to the internet. They do have to have an Apple Watch for you to be able to use walkie-talkie with them. So, yes?
Updating.
Updating.
We have to update, and what's the, you have to put the, they both have to be on the charger, the cell phone and the Apple Watch?
So her question was about how do you update your iPhone?
We've gotten a message, we have to update.
Sure, there was an update that came out the other day. Your Apple Watch normally will update automatically overnight. You might have turned that off, but if you go under software updates, you can turn on automatic updates. Whenever your watch is connected to Wi-Fi, and your phone is connected to Wi-Fi, and they're both plugged into power, so typically like while you're sleeping overnight, your watch, I would recommend, you need to have them on the charger. You can, as long as the battery is over 50%, you can force it to update even when it's not on the charger. It'll give you the option of like install now if you're at least over 50% and connected to Wi-Fi.
On the phone it'll say install
On the phone,
now?
correct, yes. But in general, you need to be connected to Wi-Fi, connected to power. So if you have automatic updates turned on, automatically overnight your watch should update. Yes, I saw a hand back there. Yeah.
It took me 2 weeks to scroll down to say do it tonight.
Yes, you can scroll down and hit do it tonight. That's correct. So if you don't have time right then, when it prompts you, you can say do it tonight and it'll do it automatically that night. So yes. Did I see it? Oh, I thought I saw another hand. Cool. So I know we are running behind. The last thing that we hadn't gone over was how to message. Basically, you have the messages application right here. So Tandra actually just said, hey, hey. So I can do Scribble to scribble back. I can use dictation and speak to her. I can send her an emoji, or you'll see there's a lot of default messages right here. So for example, I can say, hey, sorry, I can't talk right now, and it'll automatically send that message, or I can scribble and I can say, hi, just like that, and hit send. So it makes it really, really easy to communicate on the go. Similarly, I can make a phone call. So coming over here, there's this phone icon that looks like a handset, and if I hit contacts, I can scroll down, and if I look for a T, there we go. Tandra Marshall. So I can call her, I can message her, I can walkie-talkie, or send her an email. So if I call her, I can do FaceTime audio or call her work or personal line. I'm going to do FaceTime audio for now. Whoop, Yep, I'm interrupting her back there, but you can see right there that I can make that phone call. And if I wanted to, I could switch this back and forth between my watch, my phone, or any sort of headsets that I use, which is great. So that's a very, very basic, very quick overview of messaging. I know this is a lot to take in today. We went through a whole lot. We had some great Q&A. Any other questions about Apple Watch that we didn't address? I think we touched a lot. Yes?
When are you going to talk business about what's the cost upgrade to the new, to the Maya?
So we had the slide up earlier for what the individual models cost. I can bring that up again if that's something that you'd like to see. They're right here. So these are the individual models. Again, I would not recommend Series 3 for most residents here because it doesn't have fall detection, doesn't have the ECG, doesn't have the always on display. So I would recommend sticking with the Series 5. And you could do either GPS or GPS plus cellular. Cellular, again, gives you the capability of being completely untethered from your phone. So if you want to go away and go on a walk or a hike or whatever, or if you're walking around the building and you don't have your phone with you, you can still get a phone call, text message, etc. If you have the cellular model, if you have that feature turned on. Most carriers charge about $10 a month to add it onto your mobile share plan. But it's going to depend on your carrier. Yes?
How do you go from one to another? What's the cost to translate from one to another?
from an old Apple Watch to a new Apple Watch. So in terms of just simply transferring your data, there's no charge for that. But if you wanted to upgrade, it would just be a matter of how much trade-in value you got for your watch. I know Apple.com just updated their trade-in terms for Apple Watch. You could also check one of the Best Buys or a carrier store. AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile all sell Apple Watch, and they're all going to have different trade-in rates. You'll generally get more if you sell it to someone, Craigslist, eBay, or around this community, than you will for trade-in. But trade-in does alleviate the headache of having to deal with that. I think Apple.com right now is doing about $100 for trade-in on an older model, but it could vary depending on the model that you have.
Now this one here in the middle, top, is $500.
Yes, sir.
This one over here is $700.
What's the difference between the two? Yes. So
You're just getting, what do you get for the extra $200?
That's a great question. So we briefly skimmed over that earlier. There's different materials used in the stainless steel model. So you've got a stainless steel frame around the outside of the Apple Watch, and you've got a sapphire display as opposed to glass. It really comes down to durability, scratch resistance. Functionally, they do the exact same thing. So visually, it's a shinier metal. If you are in an environment that you're worried about scuffing up the watch, stainless steel you can polish. Aluminum you really can't. In addition, which I left off this slide, there's also a titanium model now and a ceramic model that just go progressively more expensive. Most consumers will stick with the aluminum or the stainless steel, but those options are available. Great question. Cool.
But there's
Yeah.
no difference in the quality except for the casing.
Correct. The casing and the glass on the screen. And when I say glass, this is still a very durable type of glass. This is a type of glass called Ion X on the other Apple Watches, other than stainless steel. It's the same type of glass used in space shuttle windows and high-speed bullet trains. So it's a very durable, scratch-resistant glass, but it is glass. So if you take it to the beach, sand can scratch it, diamond earrings can scratch it, other types of things that would normally scratch glass can scratch the models that do not have the sapphire display. A lot of premium watches are made with stainless steel, titanium, or sapphire. So if you're really worried about the durability and scratch resistance of your screen, that's where you want to go with the stainless steel or the titanium models. So I'll hand it back to Jim because I took so much time today.
I don't want to hold anybody else. One more thing. We have, or Noah does, some examples of watches up in the front, also the new headphones, and
we also have iPads over there, iPad Air. So if you want to check out any of the new iPads
and the new
some of the new headphones,
AirPods are up there. Also, I have a Series 5. It's aluminum with the sapphire display. So I don't know what
you have. You have the stainless steel model.
So you can look at mine. If you haven't been to our Apple Group meeting, third Wednesday of the month, up in the Wellness Conference Room at 1 o'clock, everybody's welcome. You don't have to sign up. If you want to get a notice that what we're going to talk about a few days or a day before the meeting, give me your email address if you're not on my list, and I'll add you to it. I've got almost 100 people. I can only send an email to 100 people, so I just take people off after a while if they don't show up, which they can still, everybody's welcome. And do you know what your schedule is this month?
I don't know. I'm actually going to be out of town this month because you guys are having it on the 19th, right?
Sounds right.
Yeah, I'm out of town.
Well, we're going to have a meeting anyway. You're stuck with me. But we have great meetings because we learn from each other about issues that they have. So keep that in mind. Any last questions? Yes.
I think I have 4 telephone numbers.
You have 4 telephone companies? Is that what you said?
Numbers.
Oh, telephone numbers.
For 2 phones.
So unless you're using 2 SIMs in the phone, that's unlikely that you have 2 cell phone numbers for just 2 different, or 4 numbers across 2 phones. But that's possible if you have multiple SIM cards in your phone. But
okay.
Yes. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for coming.
Thanks,
today. Hopefully this was beneficial today.